and a very warm welcome to this special episode of ChemEng Conversations, our third episode in the series. This is a special episode dedicated to International Women in Engineering Day, and we're very pleased to present a panel of guests from Imperial, from the Materials Department and also Chemical Engineering. So I'll introduce my guests from left to right. Firstly, we have Dr. Anna Raguz from the Department of Materials. She's a research fellow. We have Chiara, who is a PhD student from the Department of Chemical Engineering and is also the founder for the Humans of Science organization, which is a non-profit organization similar to ChemEng Conversations to promote awareness of scientists and their work in their respective fields. We have Humera and Lorena, a PhD student also from Chemical Engineering, and we have Lorena Souza, a PhD student from the same Chemical Engineering department. And I'm very pleased to announce that actually all of our guests are panelists on the Women in STEM group here at Imperial, which is very good to see, and Chiara is the founder for that group. So we're very pleased to have all of you. Thank you for coming onto the show. So as you know, this episode is going to be talking about the role of women in STEM, women in engineering. So this year's theme is about raising the bar for women in STEM. What does that phrase mean to you?
I think it's all about raising awareness, being there, being present as a woman in all these great engineering fields where we are maybe not as represented as we might want to be. I think it's just
I think it's showing also like the great work of women in STEM that they're doing, and to support them and encourage them, and also to try to keep to get more people into STEM and become encourage girls to take up STEM subjects in universities as well. So to try to raise the bar to get more awareness and to get more women in STEM,
sure.
I would say.
Yeah.
I think it also means to me that you need to kind of raise the level. Every year we're kind of improving the situation a bit more, and kind of the minimum standard should just be higher and higher.
So we're always trying to aim higher every year.
Basically, literally raise the bar.
That's a good way to think about it.
No, I totally agree. Just adding on that, I think it's important to celebrate the achievements we have up to now as well. We shouldn't forget that the situation was even worse before. So try to remember all the achievements, what was done to achieve that, of course, so we can reproduce what worked and we can add on that and do more to keep raising the bar, of course.
Of course, I agree with you. And that's a very valid point that you raised, which is, let's say 20, 30 years back, there weren't as many women in science and engineering as there is now. Of course, numbers don't look great now, but it's an improvement from what it was before. But having said that, now a lot more young women are being inspired to join science and engineering careers. So for you, I'm quite interested to know what inspired you to join your respective fields.
If I can start, mine is quite funny because I was inspired not by an engineer, so it was my grandma, and was as a strong woman, amazing. She always worked outside and inside home, and she was never surprised that I wanted to do something regarding with engineering, or she was never surprised that I was good in math or science. So I think these small things makes all the difference. So if you are raised without stereotypes, you basically believe, and that's true, isn't it? You can do anything, and I think that was really important too. And then I decided to do chemical engineering, but I remember when I told her, "Oh, Grandma, I think I would do civil engineer." That was my first thought. And she came and said, "Amazing! So finally, someone will build a nice house for us."
That's the dream.
But your parents had nothing to do with science.
No
because normally that's the case. That always the parents are already scientists as well, or they work in.
So my mom was an organic chemist, but she never went into that career. She always was a teacher growing up, and so I kind of always wanted a career that was more meaningful than just a job. But I think for me, the reason is really selfish. I always liked being good at science. I'm just always liked that feeling of accomplishment. So I'm just always chasing that, feeling good about what I do and feeling proud.
But it's good to have that ambition to want to succeed, for sure.
Yeah, I think that was also definitely a point for me. And then also I love challenges, and I thought, and also it gives you a fundamental understanding of your environment, of your surrounding, if you study science. And my parents both had nothing to do with science. They were both lawyers, but I always had the choice to do whatever I wanted to do. And then I think I was always really good in math and chemistry and physics at school, and then I had a really, really cool chemistry teacher, and I think he was the person who inspired me, because he actually said, why do not study like science or chemistry at university level, and that actually he actually made me come up with that idea that I can actually do it.
Interesting. How about you, Anna?
I mean, for sure, family. My dad is an engineer, so I went to the same university as my dad. He did sort of mechanical engineering. I did chemical engineering, or technical chemistry as we call it in Austria.
Yeah.
And then for sure I had an amazing chemistry teacher. She was just the most inspiring, encouraging woman you'll ever meet in your life. She, you know, she took extra time, you know, it was like I did chemistry Olympiad and all these things, and she was just always, you know, on my case, going like, well, you're good at like German and math and all these, no, chemistry. And clearly I was a bit easily influenced at that time.
But I think that's also super important that you have these mentors.
And that you have these also role models, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is, you know, the sort of someone who you can see yourself in, and then, I mean, for me, what really made the final decision was in Austria, you do a lot of summer internships. So I did everything from like pathology departments to food science to an energy company. But I ended up in a semiconductor company.
Okay.
And I did a summer there, sort of night shifts in clean rooms, and it was terrible. But it paid really well, so it paid for travels after, so that was good. But then, you know, I stayed there for 5 years during university time, and you know, that really kind of made it. I was like, I want to do more of this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do more clean rooms.
Maybe
no more clean rooms. I can go there like to visit now. I wouldn't want to spend as much time in them.
When you look back now, probably it's fun memories, but at the time,
yes, you know, eating a schnitzel at 3 a.m. because that's when lunchtime was during night shift. I mean, now it feels like sort of a fond memory. Back then, I'm pretty sure it was not that great.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear so many different backgrounds and sort of different stories, how you've all come to STEM. Chiara, I just picked up on a point that you mentioned. You mentioned challenges coming up when we chose a career in science and engineering. What do you guys feel that perhaps there, at your time, some different points or some specific point in your career that you faced a specific challenge, or perhaps different challenges that you've had to overcome to get to where you are now?
I think just like general drawbacks that you kind of have over the time. I don't know, if you have exams and you're studying like crazy and everyone else is, I don't know, enjoying the summer, and you spend like, I don't know, every day hours, days in the libraries, months in the libraries, and you're just saying, oh my god, why do I study science? Like, what the hell? Or I don't know, with like now with my PhD and my research, like it's going up and down and up and down, and I think, yay, it's working, I'm on the right track, and then boom in my face. Nothing works anymore. So I think, with science, it's quite unpredictable as well with your research, and but I love this, I don't know, this feeling, and then you kind of try to overcome it and try to kind of to think about like new solutions, and then at some point something works, and that's so rewarding. Like, that's amazing. Like, it's such a good feeling to kind of
Absolutely, I agree with you.
That's for sure.
How about you?
I think during undergrad, so I remember when I started undergrad in Brazil, that's amazing because chemical engineering, I started my class, it started half-half, and that I don't think anybody here kind of believed that, isn't it?
Crazy.
It was half-half.
Yeah.
But even though it was just chemical engineering, not the other engineers, so even though my class was half-half, it took me a while to feel that I belong to that place. Maybe because of all the stereotypes you hear when you grow up, you know, engineering is not really the best place to a woman, or that men's are better in math, you know. So when you're doing calculus, you're always, oh my god, I have to study so hard because
you have to study harder.
You're
genetically behind.
Exactly. It's not that easy for me, so I have to do it. So I studied really, really hard. So it took me almost the whole course to finally understand that no, it's not easier for me. It's a hard course, isn't it?
It's hard for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter your gender, so it's hard for everyone, and if you have to work hard, of course. Yeah, so it took me a while.
But you have this unconscious unconscious feeling that you kind of
exactly, it's not really where it should be. So and I'm quite glad I had half of my class women, so we kind of support each other, so everybody kind of kept going, and if I'm not mistaken, we graduate even more women than men.
Because you all
That's
work
great.
so hard.
Yeah, we work together, so that's really good.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
That's really great to hear.
Yeah. No, I think, half and half, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. That's where we
Yeah.
all want to be.
Yeah,
For sure.
at
Yeah.
every stage, right?
Yeah, at every
Um,
stage, because it gets like
yeah.
less and less and less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I still struggle with. Now I work in a really sort of, I don't know, solid state chemistry, electronic structure, going to X-ray sources, synchrotrons. Somehow I'm always surrounded by men, and I
Yeah.
find myself very often in a position where I'm on my own.
Yeah.
And even though, over the years you get used to that, but you're still, sometimes it hits you and you feel like alone, or you feel
Yeah.
just a bit lost.
Yeah,
Not in
I
the
can
sense
see
that
what
you
you
don't
mean.
know what you're gonna do with your science, right? But just on a human level.
A bit
sometimes-
pressurized.
Yeah, and a
Just
bit
need support. Yeah.
am I in the right place?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's-
you question your doubt.
You
You
belong.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, and sort of, I'm definitely not a guy, right? So
Yeah.
certain things, certain
It's like certain
behaviors.
jokes I find as well, because when I was in Berkeley in the quantum dynamics group, I was kind of the only girl.
Yeah.
And we also went on a trip on a research, like with our research group, and I was the only girl. And it's sometimes a bit awkward because like they talk about things and they laugh about things that you don't really find that funny.
You wouldn't associate.
And
to,
it's
yeah.
always like, this like weird look because you don't laugh, and then you're just like,
Yeah.
But sometimes I used to laugh, and so I used to work in the oil and gas industry, which is like obviously
Oh,
male
yeah.
dominated. So sometimes I used to laugh, and then I used to go home and think like, why did I laugh?
Why
Like
did
I
you
don't
laugh?
need to do that. And
Yeah.
that's the part of like being part of like a male dominated industry. You kind of just change yourself. Basically, you kind of try and man up, essentially, and
Yeah.
you change your personality to try and become masculine or whatever that means. And I think I find myself getting rid of any feminine qualities that I had just to like integrate with everyone because you're just on your own. And also it's like engineering, and anyway it's quite like traditionally a man's job. And
But in a way, it's a bit. Probably, I should say, not disappointing, but you shouldn't have to change the way
Yeah,
that you
obviously.
behave or your
Yeah.
outlook or your personality in any way just to adapt to a certain working environment. And the fact that all of you are saying that, clearly it's still a big issue. But does it feel in a way daunting? In a way, like as now obviously you're quite matured in terms of your careers and you've gone through quite a lot. So at least I would think so. But as you were going through, perhaps as you said in undergrad or high school, did it take time to adapt to that?
yeah, I think
Is that
so.
something you eventually grow into in a way?
I mean, it really depends on who you're around. So when I
Yeah.
used to work, I had a lot of some female, professionals, women in power, and I would see them kind of be really good at what they do, be powerful, be like strong leaders, and some of the people would consider them to be, cold and not really nice.
Bossy.
Yeah, exactly. Bossy.
This is what you hear.
And men in the same position would be, like really strong leaders and like we look up to them, So it really depends on. I mean, I would honestly think if I was a woman in power, and I would also kind of try to emulate, being a strong leader, not trying to be bossy or mean, but like
Yeah. Trying to
if
show
that's what
authority
you're-
and
yeah,
leadership.
if that's what you just come across as a woman, I mean, you try not to change that about yourself, but I think those things it just needs to change naturally.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important part is maybe that maybe you try to not just accept that. For example, I sometimes had like moments where I got a scholarship and someone was like, oh, she was the female percentage that they had to get in, or like, oh yeah, it's the women, the redhead or the retarded ones that get that. And I had that actually, that someone said that to me.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And that's that's just quite shocking in a sense.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I responded directly back and said, do you have an issue
Yeah.
that I got the scholarship? Is it
Yeah.
a problem for you?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to address that and not just accept that, but be strong and just
And I think the thing is now, probably all of us still have negative stories, negative experiences, and they stick with you no matter
Yeah, of course.
how much you deal with it, how you address it, right?
Yeah.
And I think as long as this can still happen, right, and it happens at a frequency where pretty much all women in engineering, in science will come across such experience, I think there's still a lot
So a lot
of work to do.
A lot of work.
Yeah, it's just like comments, I think, at the side. It's just like, women are not as good as men in engineering. Like we had that during our masters where like the guys made jokes about it, and I was just like, like we'll show them. Exactly.
But maybe
prove you wrong.
Maybe that's the most important point of this raising the bar. We shouldn't just be quiet anymore.
Yeah,
No, we
definitely.
shouldn't laugh along. We should just stop and maybe say something if we feel like saying.
No,
or
enough is enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So from now on, or if you are not doing this before, from now on, I'm not accepting this anymore. This is not tolerated. I want some change, and we can work
And it's
for
also,
the change.
not only for you, but it's also for the others.
For us, also for our audience as
The
well. I
next
mean, who are
generation.
watching this, I'm sure, young women in science, or perhaps older people who have established careers in science and have similar experiences. This is like a new, ideas to learn from and to moving forward is to implement definitely. Are there any other issues you feel we need to highlight that probably need to be addressed in terms of gender equality? I'm sure the list is quite long.
PPE, clean room suits never fit women. They're not meant for curves. You end up if you want to fit your curves, then you have to wear like an XXL thing because we have hips and other curvy parts.
That's so true.
And that's still like we're just I don't know. I just remember I worked in this big synthetic chemistry plant, big towers, whatever, and I had to wear the safety boots, and it was a company that didn't really have women at the time, and they didn't have any boots in my size.
Seriously?
So I wore like 3 pairs of socks for the first 3
Oh my
weeks until they
goodness.
could order some, and it was. I think there could be
Small
sort of
It's just like small things.
the small things that just when you're at that time I think I was 17 or so, it just makes you feel a bit I don't fit because this does not fit me, right?
Because everything has been
like
organized
you
with
don't
a certain
belong
gender
here
in mind, but
and
you don't adapt to things.
Exactly.
But it's such a small
So-
thing to do. Just having that awareness, I guess.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think that's like a really easy solution going forward. It's just people need to start to consciously try and think of women. It's not like it's nice that it would just happen, organically, and everyone would be kind of thinking about everyone. But until we get to that point, I think if you're organizing an event, a talk, you're organizing a course, anything, consciously try and think about the impact of whatever you're doing on both men and women.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes it easier. So that wouldn't come up if you thought about women and what size feet they have.
Possibly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think this has transitioned quite nicely into my next question, which was, I think you've all mentioned it in different ways, which was how we can achieve gender equality and keep men as allies in the workplace. Because last year's theme was 9% is not enough and men as allies. So I'm curious to get your views as to if you're in a workplace, be it in academia or in industry, and you want to have a good balance, equal proportion of men and women. In terms of numbers, sure, you want to have 50-50, but in terms of the approach or the ethos that we have in a workplace, what would you expect from men as your allies and your colleagues? Because women have certain skills that men can't do, and vice versa, because we complement each other.
Yeah. I would say it's really important that we openly talk about it and that men are interested and ask maybe also how we are feeling or how our situation is, and then be like open about it and interested about it.
And engage, just
engage,
having conversations.
Like
Just-
you.
having conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Discuss these things. Be open. Don't. And also as men, right? We might not like the jokes, but if you as a guy over here joke where you go like, oh, okay, maybe that's a bit,
Yeah.
say something.
Yeah.
I think it shouldn't be that all the pressure is on the women to challenge problems. Like if you notice you don't have extra small gloves in your lab, maybe there could be some
Point noted. I'll
small,
make sure I go get some from the store straight away.
I think and if you make it better for women, you make it better for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's
Totally
Or also
agree.
in our Women in STEM group, we also included some male members. Even in our committee, we have a male committee member as well, because I think it's important to also get the male side and to get them engaged as well. So like if you do something as a woman as well, like include a man in the conversation and try to also understand or see the other part where they're coming from and
To get different viewpoints.
to get different viewpoints.
I mean, diversity is awesome.
Yeah, diversity is definitely awesome.
I mean, It doesn't matter. And particularly in science and engineering, you need all these different viewpoints, and you need to allow them, right?
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Like maybe the issue at the moment is because percentages, say in leadership or you know the higher you move on the career ladder, there are fewer and fewer women, and then your viewpoint can become a bit you know monopolized in a sense.
I agree.
So and until we have a good number of women on boards and you know in positions of power, it's still the men who need to take a stand, right? Because there may not be any women on whatever committee or, I think and for you know just to have that.
Yeah, I think the onus is on, I mean, not all of it, but a majority of it is on men in power, basically. Interview more women, hire more women, you know, make those kind of changes. It's really, because they tend to be on the committees of these things, board members, etc. So
That's true.
Yeah. And being aware of biases, right? I mean, we all have them, one way or another. But being aware that you might judge from a slightly subjective perspective, and you know, being careful. Like once you've identified them, right, you can act to not be swayed to hire another guy because I don't know, they're a good bloke.
Very nice lad.
They're nice lads.
Yeah, exactly. When I read the question, I also thought about maybe if you are a man in a leadership position, you could actually help your female employee with maybe constructive feedback. So if you have a personal, we are not just waiting for compliments, you know, of course we want to improve and there are things that we could do better, but maybe not all of us are super confident, you know, so if you are in a leadership position, you could try and have like a more openly and like a positive and negative feedback together. I think it may be helpful to develop our career, so make us more confident. And it's true, we are not good on everything, we know that. But if we come with a good feedback, we can maybe try to work on the things we are not good and feel more confident to take higher responsibilities in a company. Because your leader said that, yeah, it's true, you are not good on that, but you can improve. So showing that you believe on your employee is quite important.
It's a very good point. One thing that, we discussed about what can be done in terms of improvements for getting gender equality. Now, you're all part of the Women in STEM group in Imperial, and what I'm quite curious to know is, this is a newly founded organization, by the way, and please do check it out. I mean, it's a great initiative, and I think it's going to be very successful in the next few months and years. So what is your sort of outlook going forward? Of course, yes, gender equality, trying to improve, you know, the opportunities for women in STEM, but what is your sort of vision for?
Like our main vision or mission is also to have this, that we want to create a supporting network environment at Imperial. Because there are already like lots of groups also out there who kind of try to encourage more girls to take up STEM subjects at university. But what we want to try to do is to make it more comfortable for female academics who are already in STEM, and also trying to kind of keep them in STEM. Because I think one really big point is that even if we have women who study these STEM subjects, they leave at some point, either after their bachelor's, their master's, and obviously lots of them are starting to have a family as well, so it's really hard for them to go back. So I think one of our main aims is to actually create this more warm, supporting network for female academics, and then also trying to keep them in STEM areas, and trying to also create these, because I think it's really important to have role models, female role models, and to show also the different opportunities that you can have when you study STEM. Because lots of people also, if you ask them, they just see you, if you study chemistry, they just see you being, I don't know, like a weird professor in the lab, but they don't see like, for example, but they don't see like all the different job opportunities that you can do, like the skill set that you actually get when you study STEM. And I think that this is really important to show like different opportunities, different STEM careers, and to kind of create role models for these different areas to try to keep the women at STEM.
It's a pretty good vision.
Yeah.
Very good. So, that's a very good answer. Yeah. And I would just recommend you to go and check out the Women in STEM page. All the details are on your screen. So once you finish watching this episode, or please do feel free to go and check it out. So one of my final questions is going to be, what advice would you have for our audience? Let's say we have young members who are interested in considering a career in science and engineering or mathematics, STEM. Any advice that you would give them from your experience?
Stay strong, stay positive. It's really rewarding. Like once, you study it. I think it gives you an amazing skill set, and you can do everything after. Like there's no, you can do any job. Like there's so many opportunities out there, and I think you get an amazing skill set. You have an understanding of so many things that surround you, and I think
totally agree. I think if you want to do anything related with science or engineering, I think you should do it. Try not to get too influenced by outside opinions, because it could be that many of them are negative. So try to think and decide yourself on what to do. And it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to think that this environment is not for me, and this is not true. But it's okay to think that, because we all have been there.
I think that applies for both men and women. I feel, because I've been in that situation as well. Where you feel, perhaps I'm not the best fit for this kind of environment.
But when you have, for example, now we have 11% of women in engineering. So for us, is seeing that, it doesn't look like I belong at this place. It's just 9 or now 11%. So it's
maybe representation matters. If you see yourself, then you trust yourself.
So it's more like I don't know. You see yourself swimming against the current. So. Am I
or
crazy,
in a way kind of jumping into deep waters.
Exactly. So I don't really, so I think chances are that if you're a girl and you are thinking about science and engineering, that you are scared and you are afraid to do it, but it's okay. You can do it. It's okay to be afraid as well. Sometimes we are afraid. It's completely normal. So you don't have to change your personality to do engineering. You can come at it as you are, and that's it.
I think try and remember that science as an entity is ungendered. It doesn't really care about who studies it or applies it or whatever. It's just like what it is. So I know it's easier said than done, but that's the foundation of everything we do. So that's something to keep in mind as girls who are trying to enter this field.
And keep on asking questions. I think, if you're thinking about it, whenever you come across a scientist, an engineer, your parents, just keep on asking questions. Keep being a bit annoying.
Be inquisitive and
be inquisitive. Stay curious. Ask the questions about the world around you. Ask the questions about what's it like to study chemical engineering, right? I think just if you can keep that going, I think that's from school all the way up to professor. I don't know. I think if you can keep this going, and if you I think then you're fine. Everything else.
It's really good.
There are ways.
And I think also maybe the motivation that in terms of that you're really tackling like global challenges, and that you can help. You're making an impact with what you're actually studying, and I think that is also so important. Like it's just you really do something incredible.
I see what you mean.
So I think being part of trying to solve global challenges, and I think that is also a very motivating factor.
I agree.
So it's been a very interesting conversation with all of you. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we finish, I'm just going to ask a more of a fun question, just a lighthearted question, because I'm quite curious. So we've talked about role models quite a lot, and Lorena, you told us a story about your grandmother inspired you to come into STEM in the first place. So one of my main role models is my mother. For reasons I'll tell you, because she was very brave when she was sort of coming up in her career. She moved from India to England, to start up a career and also raise a family in an unknown environment, and I really admire her for how far she's come since then. And if I were to take someone who's not family related, actually Eleanor Roosevelt is one of my all-time role models. I've read all of her books, and coming through a period when she lived where opportunities for women were even not as good as they are now, and how much he was able to achieve and to represent and be such a good ambassador for women all across the world. It's very inspiring. So do you have any role models that you sort of look up to and say, wow, that person really inspires me? You can be from family or from...
I think, we all, I think I can speak for everyone, family.
Yeah, I don't have any specific. I think I have like people over time or in different stages of my life that are more like my mentors, that I look up to and say like and think that like she's doing amazing work and she's doing like lots to support like other female academics or students or something. So I think it's not that I have like one big role model which is there throughout my whole life. It's more like someone from my family for sure as well, but then it's more like mentors at different stages, I would say as well.
I think we have quite a lot in our department as a chemical engineering department.
Absolutely. My own supervisor, Camille Petit, it's just such a huge inspiration for me, and I'm sure she's going to be delighted when she sees this. She's absolutely right. She's been such a huge inspiration for me just in the last 2 years that I've worked, and I've learned so much from her. And you have, like you said correctly, there's so many people in the department who are so inspiring.
It's not just her. So when we think about that, how hard it is to keep a family and develop your career together, and then you come to the department. You have Camille, you have Amparo, you have Claire. So
absolutely.
Cleo,
Valeria. So many people.
It's amazing to see there is not just one, but loads of them, and they are doing really well. So you keep asking yourself, keep telling yourself that it's doable.
Or even if you take the college as a whole, we have Simone, who's Vice Dean for Education. We have obviously President Alice Gast as well, who's doing such a wonderful job in such a high leadership position. So it's
many,
definitely possible. So many. You look around, there's so many inspirational places.
Not enough, but
not enough. With that, I think that's a perfect message.
Raise the bar.
Just to raise the bar. Yeah. So I think that was a perfect way to end this conversation. It's been very nice talking to all of you. Thank you for your time and for coming out to the show. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
So that was all we have for this episode of ChemEng Conversations. Please do check out all of our episodes that have been already published from this series. We hope to interview many more talented guests, just like we have on our panel today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.